Good morning, Steve, and thank you very much for joining me this morning.
That's okay. It's nice to see you. Thank you.
Um, I'm really delighted to speak to you because you've been fostering for such a long time. You foster with your wife, and you're coming up for 27 years of fostering, which is incredible.
Well,
Uh,
it's just something we love to do.
yeah, and that was one of the things I was going to ask you is why do you still foster? Why have you fostered for such a long time?
Well, we came into fostering to make a difference to a child here and there, and both my wife is a teacher, and I work for a charity working with children, and so all too often we'd meet children thinking we could help, maybe do make a difference in your life if we could. And so we volunteered to foster, and ever since then it's just been a joy and delight to see children come to us, often anxious or maybe on hyper alert and worried about what's going to happen, with no routine, a bit chaotic, very often behind in their learning or their speech, emotionally all over the place. And just to see those sort of things change over time as they've spent time with us, normal household routines, reliable meals, and just doing fun family things together often seems to be the way in which children can really come round and develop and grow, and to see them flourishing. It's just a joy and delight, really. We love it.
Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit more about the kinds of fostering that you've been doing?
Okay, we've always been short-term fostering, which is when a child might come directly from home into the care system, and we don't usually know much about them. Sometimes social services don't know much about them, and so it's up to us to help them in that particular situation to settle in whilst it's decided what their future might be, which could be back to the family, which we all hope for, but it might be long-term fostering, it might be adoption. So that's that period in between things not working out at home and what the long-term future is to be. That's our role, really.
Mm. And you've always chosen to do younger children, so generally under 12.
Yes, well, that started when because our boys were 6 and 8 when we first started fostering, and so we were used to having young children around. We were well kitted out with all the bits and pieces, chair, car seats, and high chairs and push chairs and all that you needed. So it just seemed an easy way, and our boys always helped us with the young children, so that was really nice. So it fitted, and as they grew older, we just stuck with the young children. It helps that both my wife and I work from home. Even before lockdown, we worked from home, and so we're more available in the day when it's not appropriate for a child to necessarily go to childminders or nursery. We feel it's better when they come into care to settle and to get in one place with just the two of us looking after him or her. And so that's another reason why we're stuck with it. It works for us,
Mm.
the young children.
Yeah. And obviously, as well as being active foster carers, you've also taken a role a little bit wider than that, in that you support the fostering service with training and with support groups. And one of the things that you're involved in is the Skills to Foster training. I wondered if you could just say a little bit more about what that involves and how it helps prepare new foster carers to foster.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Skills to Foster is a 6-session course, 3 hours per session. So it's quite intensive, but we try to fit that in over 3 weeks. Sometimes it's done on Saturdays for all day Saturday, but we do 6 evenings of 3 hours each, and we go through all of the skills that you need to foster. My job on the course is really to tell the prospective carers what it's like in reality. So I give all the stories and I tell them how it works out in practice. I share the course with a social worker, and it's their job to explain the procedures and the legal requirements and to do all of that, and to tell them what should happen. I tell them how it really happens.
Yeah.
And and I love to see people coming into that, and generally speaking, they go through the course and they want to carry on. I feel it's really important they get a realistic view of what it's like. So, children are in care for a reason. So there will be difficulties ahead, but that doesn't mean to say it's something we shouldn't do. You just need to be ready for those difficulties and trained, and that's what Skills to Foster does. It gives you many of the skills in order to help you deal with children who've had real disadvantages and real problems in their life so far.
Great. And another thing that you're involved in is a support group in Gloucester. You help co-deliver that, but also with a specialist support group, which is specifically for male foster carers. And I wondered if you could just say a little bit more about why you feel that's needed and how you each support each other within that.
Yes, over the years, sometimes male foster carers have felt a little bit, I don't know, on the edge, or some of the things that are done in fostering don't necessarily apply to them. But most of us as men really want to be good carers. We want to show to these children. Many of the children haven't had very many good men in their lives. Sometimes absent men or unkind men, and we want to show that you can be kind and good, and you can be a good parent, a foster carer to these children, and that can be different to what women offer, and I'm a great believer in that, and we find it's really helpful to share together in that way. The male carers group is popular, 20-25 come most times, really well looked after by Dan and Matt from the service, who help us and do training with us, and it's all in the sort of atmosphere which men can really share their particular concerns, which are not always the same as women, and I think that's why it works.
Yeah. And in your life outside of fostering, you're really active in your church community, and I wondered how has that been of benefit to you over the years, and also has it presented any challenges?
Yes, well, church is very important to us. We're committed Christians, and so church isn't an option. I can't not go to church just because I've got a child, for example. So we always say, when the child comes to us, we need to be sure that's okay with the birth parents for the child to come to church. But I think, so that is maybe one of the challenges. We just need to make sure that's okay. But we find that great benefit because the church is really supportive of us. And when we turn up with a new child, they always want to know who it is and are they all right, and to welcome them. And the church is a really safe place for children to come, and they're welcomed by the adults and by the children of their own age. They can be part of a particular club or Sunday school group, and so it's a great socialisation for children who've sometimes been a bit chaotic and not been able to relate to other children. We find it an immense support ourselves, and the church take a great interest and pray for us and help us in practical ways as well. So we find it a great benefit, apart from the fact that it is our life and our faith, and so we can't not do it. But I would say it's a really important part of our fostering, the fact that we go to church. Yeah.
And given that you have been fostering for so long, you must have said goodbye to lots of children over that period of time, especially because you have chosen to do short-term fostering. What is that like, and have you managed to maintain relationships with some of those children?
It's always awful. It's always awful saying goodbye to children. My wife says a little piece of her heart goes with every child that goes, and I feel the same. We never like saying goodbye to children. Sometimes there's a little bit of a sigh of relief, but usually it's really difficult. And when people say, I don't know how you give them away, we don't know how we give them away either. That's certainly difficult. But we know that we came into fostering to make a difference to a child, and we want the right future for them. And if the right future is back home, that's good. If the right future is adoption or long-term fostering, well, we want to support that. But it is lovely when we stay in touch. Some of them we've managed to stay in touch with over the years. There's two girls in particular who actually met through us. Not because we had fostered both of them, and then they'd gone back to their families, and then they sort of met by meeting in our home, and they still stay in touch with each other, and we still meet up with them on a regular basis. They now tell us when they're going to come and stay. And during this lockdown period, well, we do a video call with them and do quizzes and chat and stay in touch that way. So we get Christmas cards and other messages from time to time from some of the other children. Sometimes one will phone up and say, do you remember me? And of course, we remember them all, every single one. Yeah. So yes, it's hard to say goodbye to them, but there sometimes are chances to stay in touch, and we really love that.
Yeah. So just to finish off, Steve, if anybody is watching this and they're thinking about fostering or becoming foster carers, what advice would you give them?
Well, I think I would definitely say find out a bit more about it. do take it seriously. Chat about it with everybody who lives in your house, because it's not a one-person job. If there are more than one of you in the house, it can be a one-person job, of course. But if you share your home, then do make sure that everybody's keen to have a go, and then investigate it if you want to find out more. There are lots of ways of doing that, and certainly even with the Skills to Foster course, that doesn't commit you to becoming a foster carer. There's more chances of finding out there, and at any stage you can say this is not for us, and we would understand that. But I think if you want to make a difference in a child's life, then give it a go, find out more.
Fabulous. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for joining me today. It's been a real pleasure, and I've enjoyed your rainbow backdrop as well.
Thank you, yes.
Thanks, Steve.